back on What's on Your Mind from the Petro Serve USA studios, where today the home cooking awaits you for lunch. They have great meals at every Petro Serve USA, great grab-and-go convenience, always fantastic specials. I mean, that 4 for $4 deal all day, every day is a pizza. Fill you up, personal pan pizza, breakfast pizza too, 2 fresh baked cookies, and they're always just like, it just came out of the oven, just like mom makes. The 20-ounce fountain popper coffee, those are 4 items, pizza, 2 cookies, and a drink, 4 for $4 all day, every day. 4 items, $4 all day, every day. And the lunch specials today, the meatball dinner is at Harwood, the beefy noodle hot dish, or beefy boodle. Did we decide whether it's beefy boodle or?
I think it's noodle.
I did have a text from a listener saying beefy boodle was my nickname in college.
There you go.
So maybe the person that came up with today's lunch special, put those two together.
I don't want to know how we got that.
Beefy noodle hot dish at 12th Avenue North Fargo location, and the tater tot hot dish, West Main Avenue, West Fargo. Also in Valley City, hot beef sandwich or chicken pot pie, exit 292 off I-94 Valley City. 2 sides and a bun come with all the lunch specials. Petro Serve USA, you tell them Scott sent you. Dr. Tony Fauci is testifying at a House hearing right now on some of the impacts of the coronavirus recovery and the different therapies that are out there and all the work they're doing to try and get ahead of a vaccination or a virus. So no doubt we'll have some interesting characters try to get him to say all kinds of horrible things about President Trump. But that's just part of the game. But anyway, so far so good on that front. There's also officials from the Trump administration obviously there as well. So a lot of other folks chatting today up there, and we'll keep you posted on that. This afternoon, Governor Doug Burgum does his once weekly now press conference. And a little tidbit that was at the end of last week's press conference said, hey, nobody asked me about when we get to complete reopening and the next phases. And he also said something about county by county reopenings. County by county. What does that mean?
Makes way too much sense, I'm thinking.
I know. I've been wondering when we were going to go to that long ago. Governor Walz should get that memo, so we should get that memo for crying out loud.
Please.
Thankfully, most of North Dakota's is in a position to be reopened. Anyway, let's talk some money. Let's answer your questions about these markets and where we're at. Brien Krank is here. Brien's a certified financial planner and institutional portfolio manager right here in Fargo. Most financial folks sell you a product, then they ship your money to a fund company or like a New York money manager. Collins & Krank manages their own portfolios right here in North Dakota, which is based on your plans. Pretty good. What is a certified financial planner anyway? What does that mean? Sounds very fancy.
It does sound fancy. Good to be here, Scott. Basically, it's one of the highest levels of certification you can have when you're dealing with the retail public. And it's a certification that involves a lot of schooling, a lot of lessons that go along with that, and then passing some rigorous exams to show that, yes, indeed, we meet those high standards to help you through your financial planning process, but also help you with, tax planning, money management, all of those things.
So I'm a client of Collins & Krank, and went through the plan, which we can talk about a little bit today, because I think that the planning is really enjoyable process to just get you to sit still long enough to think about these things and go through these different steps, and we'll talk about some of the questions today. But essentially, you have a fiduciary responsibility to me, to all your clients, as a certified financial planner.
Absolutely. Long before the Fiduciary Rule or any of those things ever came into the public vocabulary, those of us who are CFPs or certified financial planners already had that high fiduciary standard. So I am currently and have been a fiduciary for my clients, which basically means that we always have to put our clients first. We cannot have any conflicts of interest. So every bit of advice, every bit of money management that we do goes to that high standard. There's never any conflicts of interest, or our clients never have to question why we're telling them what we're telling them, because they always come first.
When I loved working with Collins & Krank first of all, know Jeff and Brien and have for many years from church and school activities. And but I had no investment strategy. I at one point had a 401k when I worked for other companies, but that got invested into starting radio stations and the cause, if you will. So But so I was always a little like sheepish about it, like, oh my gosh, I got to start sometime. And so Marie and I went in, and it was you were not judging, you were helping, you were like, we can do this, we can do that, and you do this little investing 101 interview.
Right.
Tell folks about that.
Well, we always start out with what we call our philosophy meeting. And so the very first part of this is saying, hey, let's first of all make sure that we're a good fit. So tell me about your philosophy with money. Tell me about, how you were raised, what your values are. We'll tell you ours too, and kind of how we think about this stuff. And then a little education about how we actually make money and manage money and advise our clients. And I like to get that out of the way at our very first meeting, because what we're after with our clients is creating nice long-term relationships where we're going to be working with you through a lifetime, maybe working with the next generation in your family. And so we always want to start out with just making sure that everybody's on the same page and see if we are a good fit at the very beginning. So we always start out with that sort of investing 101 philosophy meeting.
And if you want to text me, folks, or email us, certainly, and you want an Investing 101 interview, you do that for anybody, right?
Absolutely. We'll sit down with people. We'll have that. And that's the whole aim of that is to provide an education, because we can sit down and we can talk about, what is a stock or what is a bond or what do you think about money or saving? But everybody has different ideas about what that means. So let's start out by first defining what are those various terms and how do they fit in your life? How were you raised? And then we'll share with you what we think, so that, in the end, when we're having that conversation about wealth and how to create it or how to preserve it, we're coming from the same standpoint.
So just if you're interested in that at all, 701-367-2054 is my number. You can text me. Just text me your email and I'll pass it on to Brien. And you guys can set that up, and you'll find out why I like them so much. Texter says, ask Brien what he thinks of companies like Robinhood and Webull that allow people free trades and how they're impacting the stock markets. These companies saw a big upswing in people trading during the COVID lockdown. Traditional investors seem to hate these companies.
Yeah, I go both ways on that. Anytime we can provide a platform that allows people to trade or get more experience or exposure and educate themselves in the capital markets, whether that's stocks or bonds or mutual funds, I'm all for that. So I think, hey, it's great. We're getting a lot of young people involved in learning these things. From the time that my children were little, I had them owning stock in Disney and some of these other things so that they could actually participate and learn about how that works. So from that standpoint, I think it's great. I think anytime we can educate, there's not enough education out there for our young people. The flip side of that, though, is I just had somebody email me last week about a young man who took his own life after incurring a $750,000 negative balance in his Robinhood account. And I look at that and I say, okay, education is one thing, but there's also allowing people to make mistakes, allowing people to be irresponsible, to rack up that kind of a negative margin balance is just unconscionable in my opinion. And it goes back to why we need not just, an empty platform, but advice and somebody holding their hand along the way, teaching them the right way to do this.
I mean, that's it's almost like, I don't know, flying without a rope or flying blind or whatever, right? Because I can see where it'd be exhilarating and it'd be kind of fun and you'd kind of get into it and do your own little research, but it's really not the way to a safe and prosperous retirement, is it?
Well, you're exactly right. And that's why, again, going back to that philosophy meeting that we have when we're starting out a new relationship, we always start out, we want to know what is a person's experience level? What are they doing? How do we incorporate that into a plan? Have they been somebody who's, had an advisor in the past and now they're ready to take it to that next level? Or have they never had an advisor and they've always just been kind of, doing it themselves or doing it on Robinhood or something like that? And so showing them the value that guidance can add is just huge.
And when you come onto that end of the planning, okay, when can I retire? Do I have enough money? How much money do I need? Do I need to worry about the market? Right? If we're going to watch this up and down, if I'm going to, the tax man, long-term care, you've baked all that into the cake, right?
Well, that's just it. So many people, they think about money and we think about, what stock should I buy or something like that. But money is just the how. What we really want to get to is the why. So money is going to let us do those various things like retire or pay for long-term care or maybe pay for that new car or something like that. But what is the why behind those things? And so, the plan itself, and that's why the planning is so important. We build a goal plan for every single client. And the idea is, let's figure out the why behind some of this, because the plan is going to answer those questions that you have. Like you said, when can I retire? Or am I saving enough to get to retirement? The last thing I want to do is provide just a fantastic portfolio. We got you excellent returns, but because we never had those other conversations, you can't retire. We didn't tell you to put enough money away. That's why we always start with that plan.
Let's talk about the markets. That's the shiny object I always enjoy kind of following and getting your take on it because you're so good with this. First of all, the NASDAQ at new highs is just really amazing when you think about it. And even I look at the market right now sitting at 26.2, and I think, well, that's not that far from, before this whole mess. We still have record unemployment. We have all this additional new debt, and yet, we have the market doing what it's doing. What's going on?
Well, it's just wonderful to be a part of that right now. So we always say the market climbs a wall of worry, and there's plenty to worry about out there. So you've got a political climate that's highly charged. You've got this virus going on. You got this Black Lives Matter protest, and you got all these things going on, and the market's just going up and up and up. And so that's typical of the market. It'll always make a liar of people. It'll always climb that wall of worry. But behind that, there's real money pushing these stocks up because, the short-term idea of this is it's a supply and demand market. And so why is the market going up? There are more people out there buying these stocks, betting that the economy and these stocks and these companies are going to get better rather than the other way around. They see positive things in there. Technology is the main driver of this right now, and that's why you're seeing the NASDAQ, which is loaded with technology stocks, moving higher every single day, it seems.
What's behind that? Why is technology a hot object right now?
Well, technology always is a great growth area to be in, but we're just really priming the pump with that. So you think about what we're all doing in this sort of, stay-at-home coronavirus environment. So we've got people working at home. We're using more Zoom meetings right now. We're ordering more things online. People who never ever thought they'd be ordering things online are now learning new payment methods where they're not using cash. They're using PayPal or Venmo or some of these other things. And guess what that does? That forces that adoption rate even further forward. So different analysts have looked at, say, Zoom, for instance, or Venmo, which is owned by PayPal, and said, you know what, we're seeing the adoption rate that we expected to be, 3 to 5 years out. It's happening now.
Incredible. We're talking to Brien Krank from Collins & Krank on the program today. Collins & Krank manages portfolios right here in North Dakota. Brian's an institutional portfolio manager, also a certified financial planner. Getting his take on the market. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the other sectors of the market that are doing well. Healthcare, biotech, a couple examples. When we come back on What's on Your Mind, don't go away. So it looks like the summer of 2020 might be just a bit different than we thought, right? Well, head on in to see Vince at Hot Spring Spas and Pool Tip. Hey, Kev,
Sir.
can you do Schwann's on the way out?
In 5,
Out.
4,
I'll do HSS going
3,
in.
2, 1.
There's a couple of things that you can do in the way of a reaction to bad things happening. Take the whole coronavirus, China virus, Wuhan virus, COVID-19, whatever. Right? You can see it and you can cower in the corner in fear, or you can say, where's the opportunity? Some of that's what we just talked about with Brien from Collins and Krank about technology sector. Now 3 to 5 year advances are happening because of what happened with this. My friends at HSS Courier and Medical Delivery, same thing. Courier service. And they added medical delivery in the middle of this, and now they're doing a lot more than that. They'll do security consults with you, rather. They'll do security for you. Actually want security at your location. I'm having them over to the house to just go through the house. It's been a while. We put in a security system and arm it every night, the windows, doors, and all that. But, maybe it's time for an update. So have them in for a consult. They can help you. David, 701-866-5774. John, 701-367-5763. Find them on Facebook. HSS Courier, HSS Courier. Or HSS Medical. Tell them Scott sent you. All right, more of our conversation with Brien Krank from Collins and Krank. We're talking about this crazy market. All-time high, once again today, in the NASDAQ, and it continues. Sectors that are leading the way for this rise. You told us about technology. Let's talk about healthcare.
Well, healthcare is an interesting one, Scott, because healthcare is normally one of the other true leaders just to lead any economy, and it's been a laggard over the last several years. And it's just recently, with all the research money and the money chasing around this virus, looking for vaccines and cures, that we've finally seen biotech basically break out of about a 5-year trading range. So finally we're above that and moving into new high ground. So you can tell there's a lot of new investors that are looking for answers within that healthcare and biotech space.
That's a good thing, though, right? So they're investing more in these companies that go out and find a vaccine or find a therapy or find the best new kind of testing machines so testing can be more widespread. I mean, all that is the market responding to a need, right?
Well, you're exactly right. So you can just see how the capital markets are so efficient and they reallocate capital where it's needed in society. And so there's two things. Part of it is, virus technology, trying to fight the virus or figure out ways to treat it. And then some of it's just, normal healthcare supplies. We've got people who are in ICUs or in, going to the hospital or just getting tested. So testing supplies, all of those reagents and things of that nature are going to be in demand. And therefore investors know that and want to be a part of that. So yeah, it's our markets at work doing exactly what they do.
Dana sends a note here, says, ask what they are advising their investors to do if interest rates go negative and people have to pay for savings and CDs.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we've only seen that a couple of times, in our country. We've dipped into negative rates just because the bond market forced us there, but not necessarily from a policy standpoint per se. But negative interest rates certainly are a possibility if we feel like we need to stimulate. And so our same thing that we always say, the lower interest rates go, the more the Federal Reserve is forcing money out there into the markets. That happens to be great for equities or stocks and not good for bonds. And so I always say, watch what we're doing. And then in any kind of an environment like that, you want to really focus on quality.
The market's still a little twitchy. You say that's a term you use, right?
Yeah.
Twitchy. I don't know exactly. Just a little skittish, maybe, huh?
That's a perfect analogy. It's skittish. We got kind of these knee-jerk reactions. You can see just yesterday, Peter Navarro had a slip of the tongue, about the China trade policy and about the agreement that's been made so far.
He said they were done. We're done. Yeah.
I guess that's a pretty big slip of the tongue when you think about that. But the market just started selling off immediately. One tweet from Trump that says, no, we're not done. The agreement is still in place. And now we've got a nice big up day over 200 points on the Dow. So yeah, watch for some of that stuff because we're in a space where just a week and a half ago, we saw a 5% sell-off in the market. So little tiny nuggets of news, people are ready to react in a pretty big way.
I see also there's some news scare out now that there's a spike, I think they call it, a spire or a spike off of the main coronavirus. And and they're expecting this to be spreading even faster than the other one. I mean, there's more contagion of fear out there, right?
I wish people would just take the time to do research. We get a lot of people calling our office just asking questions like, what about this or what about the virus? To the point where I actually started writing a little bit of a newsletter about that because we spend so much time doing research. But one of the things you'll find in virology is that viruses mutate, they mutate often, and usually each mutation is less powerful, less potent than the version before that. So viruses kind of mutate themselves out of existence, and that's really what I see happening. It's hard to believe a spike would be even, more potent, but we'll watch for that.
Very interesting. You've also complained before about a narrow market. Is this still the case? What is a narrow market?
Well, yeah, it is still pretty narrow when you look at the fact that we've talked about 2 out of the 11 sectors really dominating everything. That's technology and healthcare, and not much else has been participating. Today, I just bought one of my first industrial stocks I've bought in a while. We added that to our portfolios, and so that's a sign that things are spreading out into other areas. A narrow market is when too much money is concentrated in too small of an area, and most of it's been in technology. So we'd like to see that spread out. We're seeing that finally spread into the consumer, some of the industrials, and then we're starting to see some of that spread into small caps, which is very, very healthy for this market. If we can get small companies participating, that'll be a boost for us.
Take the step to plan a better retirement. You'll be glad you did. Trust me, I've done it. You will too. Brien, Krank, Jeff Collins, the team at Collins and Krank. You can call them at 701. You writing this down? 701-235-0119. And if you text me at 701-367-2054, I'll connect you for the Investing 101 in the newsletter. God bless you tomorrow.
Hi, this is Troy from CNC.